So what is the most dangerous thing? The most dangerous thing is really, really clear. It is the truth. It's the truth. When you're armed with the truth, you can empower others. You can change things when you have the truth. The draconian measures that our government has shoved down our throats can be stopped. But it'll only be stopped when we are armed with the truth and we demand it. Only when we have the truth to fight back with. We need the power of numbers. There is power in numbers. There is victory in truth. Now, there's only one way to amass those kinds of numbers, and that is enlightening people, the millions of people who have blindly marched towards the cliff in lockstep, or to enlighten those and give courage to those who are too afraid to step out of line to question what the hell is going on here. But that is changing. People are more curious and more willing to say, and it is going to get stronger and stronger as your gas price goes up, as the price of meat and a loaf of bread goes up. The truth is dangerous because the truth is powerful. And that's why big tech deplatforms anybody who dares question really anything, but definitely COVID. Big government and their minions in tech control us by controlling information, and they are hiding the truth to keep you under control. If it wasn't now for talk radio and for those on the internet, we wouldn't have a country. And those who are on the internet are being stifled more and more. They're being silenced. The algorithms are changing. Instagram just put in a new filter for your protection. They're controlling and hiding the truth. The phrase that the truth shall set you free is absolutely true. And I know it because I've applied the truth in my own life. And I am freer than I've ever been in my life. But can they free a country? Yes, but only if millions are in a chorus of voices speaking out. You need to find the truth and spread the truth. In this case on COVID, Americans living in a prison created from fear, concocted in a lab, spread by government and perpetuated by media. The truth, like a virus, once it's out, it can't be stopped. It's contagious. We're shut down for saying something like this. This is Bill Gates last week in the United Kingdom. I want you to hear carefully what he says.
The economic damage, the deaths, it's been completely horrific. And I would expect that will lead the R&D budgets to be focused on things we didn't have today. We didn't have vaccines that block transmission. We got vaccines that help you with your health, but they only slightly reduce the transmissions. We need a new way of doing the vaccine.
We need a new way to... Wait a minute. What did he just say? Because if I said anything like that, I would get strikes. I would be banned from the internet. But Bill Gates said it last week. The reason why I know Bill Gates said it is because there's a really good investigative journalist. He is the publisher of the dossier on Substack. His name is Jordan Schachtel, and welcome. How are you, Jordan?
Hey, Glenn. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. I found this snippet of him stunning, quite honestly, because of what he announced. Can you take us through this?
So to preface this, Bill Gates is really the best way to understand Bill Gates and his role in this whole COVID mania stuff is that Bill Gates is the equivalent of, he is the Google of public health. And this is not a conspiracy theory. It is just based on the factual evidence that Gates and the Gates Foundation controls and finances, and this isn't just me, this is Politico, these are several corporate press outlets that recognize that Gates finances all these institutions that did the coronavirus modeling, whether it's Imperial College out of the UK, IHME out of Washington State. So we did the modeling, his people proposed the lockdowns, his foundation invested into these mRNA vaccines. So it seems that Bill Gates is not taking responsibility for basically, he was so responsible for steamrolling through all of these policies that the government ended up imposing on the population. Of course, the government played a big role, and the Chinese government played a role. But Bill Gates, on the private side of things, it was a total monopolist here. It seems that he doesn't even want to talk about it anymore. And it's quite shocking now with the latest from Bloomberg is that 7.5 billion COVID shots were injected into people's arms, according to these reports. And now Bill Gates is saying, after investing and profiting billions of dollars off of these things, he's seemingly saying, oh, no big deal. We just got to, do another one. This didn't work out so well. Who cares? And it's just shocking to hear that from the man that is so invested in this, both from a monetary perspective and from having power over this entire industry.
But if I said on the air that the COVID mRNA shots do little to nothing at all to stop transmission, I'd be taken off of YouTube. That would be marked and flagged and taken off of YouTube, Facebook, etc. But that's what he's saying. I find it not only because I'm very well aware of how involved he has been in this whole thing, but for having him come out, nobody else is saying that stuff, are they?
Not the people that have had so much invested into this. And it's funny you mentioned YouTube. YouTube cites WHO policy, but the leader of the WHO, Dr. Tedros, is basically a stooge for Bill Gates. He was Bill Gates's guy. So it seems that everything just comes back to this. These were Bill Gates's policy recommendations. They're being enforced by Twitter, by Facebook, by YouTube, and it's so shocking to hear this from him. If I tweeted something out like this, I would be banned instantly. Alex Berenson has been banned from social media. There's been so many other people that have been skeptics of these policies, of the efficacy. If you don't believe this stuff is 100% safe, 100% effective, like a magic pill for your 99-year-old grandpa or grandma in a nursing home that they're going to live forever. If you don't believe that, then these social media oligarchs seemingly want to ban you from the public square. But Bill Gates has an exception because I guess that he finances all of this stuff, so he's allowed to just spout off about it. So
what do you speculate, or do you know what his goal here is with this?
I think that Bill Gates is basically Jeffrey Tucker of the Brownstone Institute had a really interesting analogy, and he thinks that basically Bill Gates sees this whole pandemic and this mRNA stuff as a software issue, similar to like a virus that he deals with in his previous work at Microsoft. So he thinks, these things aren't working so well, let's just upgrade them. And he doesn't really have a sense of humanity and the devastation that he has potentially wrought with his advocacy for lockdowns, with the side effects that some people are getting from the shots, the injections into children. He just doesn't seem to care. He seems to be very, very cold about this whole issue, and he doesn't want to take responsibility for his failures. When I was in this interview that you cited, it's a 32-minute interview. He spent 29 minutes talking about how he's going to fix the climate for us and how he has all these solutions for it. So he seems to just want to bury this under the rug, and he doesn't want to talk about this anymore because it didn't go as well as he thought it would. It's
amazing the hubris of these people that they are just taking these things on, damn the consequences, don't really even talk to or think about individuals, but you're looking at everything as a collective. I mean, this is the kind of humorist that we had out of Germany in the 1920s with the eugenics, and even in America in the 1920s with the eugenicists. They looked at society and had no problem doing whatever they wanted to the individual for the good of the collective.
Absolutely. And Bill Gates, he has this warped perspective. He's very much an elitist. He spent his birthday a couple of weeks ago in Turkey. And at the end of the interview that he delivered, where he gave this quote about the shots not working as well as he thought, he also said that he thinks the best approach to COVID is the one that New Zealand and Australia took, which
didn't work.
Then they locked down their entire population for basically 3/4 of the last 2 years. And this man was just found spending his birthday in Turkey. So he obviously views us as peasants, that, he's way above us, that the rules don't apply to him, but he wants to enforce the rules upon billions of us.
Have you seen the news? And if so, I'd love to hear your perspective on the impact or the meaning of this. CDC admitted this weekend that it has no proof that anybody who had COVID is spreading the virus. And it was, let me just give it, documents reflecting any documented case of an individual who, 1, never received a COVID-19 vaccine, 2, was infected with COVID-19 once, recovered, and then later became infected again, and 3, transmitted SARS-CoV-2 to another person when reinfected. They say they're not collecting any of that. They're not collecting any of that data. Seems kind of like important data to collect.
It seems like this is just, in my perspective, the Occam's razor approach is that there's no money to be made in natural immunity, and there's no power to be granted to the federal government in natural immunity. So why would the CDC, under the control of the Biden administration, recognize something like that?
And the latest research that is coming out now that says that it looks like natural immunity is actually much more effective than the vaccine. We have tons of studies that are now coming out and saying this. Is that going to make an impact, do you think?
It seems that the general public has been so propagandized. I mean, if you go into Washington, D.C. or New York City, they would be shocked if you told them that you have no intention of injecting your 5-year-olds with this stuff. So it seems that America has really split into two. You have the society, unfortunately, of cattle who are just willing to do whatever the government tells them to do, up to and including injecting their children with experimental shots. So it just seems that their perspective is just one of blindly trusting the government, and that the history of science and biology doesn't matter. Natural immunity cannot be recognized. You just have to keep giving yourself the injections over time, again and again and again, to stay safe, because the government told you that that's the case.
Jordan, thank you so much. Thanks for releasing that and having the guts to do it. Did you get any blowback from releasing his words?
It always seems that the corporate press is very unhappy when you talk about Bill Gates, and a lot of this is actually because Bill Gates funds a lot of these public health. If you go to the Gates Foundation's website, he actually funds a lot of these public health verticals. The Guardian, a lot of these UK papers. There's some papers in the US. So a lot of it is actually his foot soldiers working on his behalf.
Jordan, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Jordan Schachtel, he is an investigative journalist. You can follow him on dossier.substack.com.